the Holocaust actually started, of course not in this country, it started in Europe, and it started in a country called Germany, where there was a leader who got elected. Anybody know his name? Everybody knows his name. He said the German people are much better than anyone else in the world, and we're going to conquer all of the European nations. And Hitler also had another plan. He said, we've got to get rid of all those people who don't believe in me and in my party. And that was an awful lot of people, you know. And here now these Germans all of a sudden were my country and taken over my country. And of course, my parents and their friends, who were mostly Jewish, said, I wonder what those Germans are going to do. Now that they're here in our country, will they do the same thing that they have done in Germany? A German officer stepped in front of us and began shouting at Hans. What are you doing walking with that filthy Jew? That was me. And Hans tried to explain that we were cousins, and he wouldn't listen. He screamed at Hans, if I see you ever walking with that Jew again, I'll send you both to a camp, and you'll never be seen again. And then without warning, with his black gloved fist, he hit me in the face as hard as he could. And I fell on my knees with a bleeding nose. And I waited until he walked away. And I think at that moment, it ended my childhood. Because I realized what hate could do. The hate that Hitler preached had now come home to me. And so, where could I hide? That was the question. And I think it's time to tell you about my mother, because she became the hero of this story. She all of a sudden changed from a housewife into a fighter to try and save the lives of all of her husband and herself and her three sons. She found someone. She found a police officer who looked very much worse than those Germans. He never smiled. He always had a black uniform with a black cap, black boots. And you would have been mistaken. His name was Officer Oskam. O-S-K-A-M was his family name. And Oskam said to me, Ed, I have a place where I can put you, but it's an extremely dangerous place. And once you go in there, you can't come out. And you'll have no contact with your mother or with anyone else outside. But you will not be alone. There will be you will be with other men. What do you think? Would you still like to go there? And I thought anything would be better than being so isolated and so terribly lonely on that little farm and so afraid. I said, I'll go whatever it is. And one night, Oskam walked out of his little village with me, and he stopped in front of a wood nearby, a parcel of wood. And I thought, why is he stopping here? You can't go in there. So we walked. And when we got to the center of the wood, I suddenly was faced with a hut. You wouldn't know it was there because it had been camouflaged with little pine trees that had been nailed to the outside. So it looked just like part of the woods. But in that hut, there were 7 men who had formed a group to fight the Germans and to do everything that they could to resist them. And that is where Oskam left me with those 7 men in that hut.